phone didn't really ring, I'm sure of that. I carelessly picked up my phone and scanned the notifications. Like every other normal person in North America, I checked my phone every 15 minutes for that sweet dopamine that comes with the notification of a new text or Snapchat message. I was quite surprised to see that I had a missed call from 20 minutes ago. After all, my phone had been on the table in front of me the whole time, and it usually beeps obnoxiously loudly, ping every time something happens. The thought of missing my ringtone of Natalie Imbruglia's rendition of Leave Me Alone, which I chose half ironically, was surprising. I checked the notification, assuming it was probably spam, and was surprised to see that the call came from my local area code and even had a real name attached to it. Usually when I get a scam call telling me that Interpol has put me on a watch list and that they're gonna lock me up forever unless I send $2 or $13 via a very shady wire. It's from a private caller. This time the name was Diane Vale. It was probably still a spam call, but I had recently been playing some modest gigs, opening up for up and coming artists with my band, and I'd made sure to hand out my business card. Don't judge me like a piece of candy at this point. I figured it couldn't hurt to call back with this little exciting but irrational what if thought in the back of my mind. And so I did. After a few rings, I heard someone answer the phone. "Hello?" asked the voice at the other end. It sounded almost worried. Curious. "Is that an old lady? Hello?" I said weakly. "I'm calling because I think I have a missed call from this number from about 20 minutes ago." "Oh, is that right? Wow," she began, her voice weathered and hoarse. "Yep, definitely an old lady. I'm so sorry. I must have dialed the wrong number. There, I forgive you." I thought to myself, mobile phones are a lot, even for me sometimes. As much as I wanted to take this opportunity to ask this woman what her experience with TikTok, to see if the question would melt her brain, I thought it would be good to end the conversation here. No worries at all. I hope you have a great day." "Why, thank you, dear," she said, and before I could press the bright red icon with the retro, to sever all ties with this woman for the rest of my life, she quickly squeaked in. "I tried to reach my husband." "Yes, that was it. He must have a similar number to yours." Oh, right, yes I do. I imagined you were probably off by 1 or 2 digits. "It happens all the time," I said. "Still ready to hang up?" "Yes, that's what it was. I was trying to reach my husband, but I called you instead, which means I couldn't get through to my husband." "That's right, you wonderful, sweet old lady. I think that is why I am. You called me. That's why you didn't call your husband. Logic. I will try him again now. Thank you for being so sweet and tender about it," she continued, once again. "No worries at all." I said I would hang up immediately to avoid her from throwing more stunning revelations my way, as if I had been on the phone with her, which means I wasn't on the phone with anyone else. Whoa, despite my snark at the time, I actually found the whole exchange a bit sweet. That was the prevailing thought anyway, when I saw her name on my caller ID a week later, to the sweet, sweet tunes of Natalie Imbruglia. Screw you, the songs are a banger. I decided to answer. "Hello," I said. Diane took a while to answer this time. She almost seemed surprised when she did. "Wait, you're not Martin? No, I think this must be a wrong number." The revelation came to Diane at a glacial pace. Finally it clicked for her, and she answered with certainty. You must be the same woman I called last time. Your voice sounds so clear." "Yes, it's me again." "Well, my goodness, you must be furious. I reached out to you again by mistake." "Not at all, ma'am. Everything's fine. Good luck reaching your husband." "Oh, well, it's not my husband this time. In fact, it's my brother I'm trying to call." "Gotcha. Well, good luck, I've got to go." I hung up the phone, just as she was in the middle of her reply. I felt rude, but at the same time, you have to nip these things in the bud, right before they get out of hand. If someone on a cold call or on the street asks you for 20 seconds of your time, Be firm, say no, and move on. This is the foot in the door technique, and I had to shut her down before she felt empowered to tell me a series of boring stories. It wasn't until late that night of the same day that I realized it was quite strange, that she had contacted me with another failed call. This time she was trying to reach her brother. Did her husband, her brother, and I all have very similar phone numbers or something? I pushed the thought aside and carried on. And after 2 weeks of no messages, I assumed she'd moved on too. Turns out that the third time was indeed the charm. And this time, Diane's reappearance was just frustrating, and nothing else. I heard the end of my ringtone, playing at what must have been 2 a.m. in the morning. I got up just as my phone stopped ringing and I checked who the call was from. Motherfucking Diane again. Only this time, it wasn't just one missed call, it was 20. She'd been trying me for over an hour, and I just slept through them all. Apparently I blocked her number and went back to bed. In the morning, I noticed she'd also sent a couple of voicemails. Out of morbid curiosity, I decided to listen to them. I expected a mundane series of messages about her day, an incident at the bank, a complaint that oranges at the supermarket were 20 cents more than usual, or her frustration that her husband and brother still weren't answering her phone calls. Instead, as I listened, each voicemail was the same, just breathing, her breathing, one voicemail after another, running for minutes each time, before cutting off to the next message. Occasionally it felt as if her breathing would break, like she was about to burst into tears, but she never did. What the fuck? I wasn't sure if I should have been scared, or if I should have felt really bad. Anyway, I was able to rationalize it all again. She was obviously just terrible with technology, and the line, leaving your message after the beep, meant nothing to her. No matter the fact that answering machines were a thing for a really long time, before the advent of voicemail, so she really must have been living under a rock to have missed all this. I decided to go ahead with my half-baked explanation, for the purpose of button all this up in my head as quickly as possible. Thanks to me blocking her number, the next few months were business as usual. Everything was normal in my world. Yes, I would still get a strange, sinking feeling in my stomach every time I thought about Diane's series of late-night phone calls, but overall, the hustle and bustle of everyday life allowed me to put the incident behind me. Then, on a not-so-special day at a not-so-special time, my phone started to ring. My instinct was to answer it, as I was expecting a call from one of my friends. At that moment, I almost had an aneurysm when I saw the name Diane Vale on the caller ID. On the caller ID, my curiosity as to how she'd managed to override me, blocking her number, was quickly dispelled when I realized that her number looked very different. This time it definitely wasn't from my local area code. She was changing numbers to reach me. I answered the phone. I don't know what's wrong with you, but stop fucking calling me. I'm all alone. She interrupted. Her interjection stunned me for a moment. I'm alone, she continued. I heard you. My husband, my brother, my family and friends, they've all died. I have no one. I'm completely isolated. Look, I'm really sorry to hear that, but that's no excuse. I just need someone to talk to. Please, just one meaningful conversation, and then you won't have to hear from me again. God damn it. Okay, I replied, as weird as this whole ordeal had been. Seriously, calling a stranger because you're lonely? Pretending it was just a wrong number? When getting them to talk about the heartache that comes with growing old alone and losing everyone you love was enough to put her at ease. I could probably burn 10 minutes doing that. Secretly, I was more frustrated with the potential children, grandchildren, or extended family that this woman might have had who had left all alone with no emotional or social support. Sometimes I feel I have always been alone, she began, and yet I have memories of a time when life was full. There was companionship, laughter, vibrancy. I can clearly remember moments when it felt like I was almost done. too much socializing, when the presence of others was almost overwhelming. If you could believe it, you don't say, "Ah, in retrospect, what a strange, foolish thought I had," she mused, her voice trailing off. I decided to multitask. I had a concert later that evening, and I thought I could put her on and start getting ready. I went into the bathroom, put my phone on the counter next to the sink, and started applying my makeup in front of the mirror. I'm sure that reminiscing about the past probably brings back some mixed feelings. I'm sorry to hear that you feel alone these days, with no old friends or extended family around you to talk to. I asked her. Nope, everyone I was close to has passed on. Damn, that really sucks. I tried to approach the conversation from a different angle, while applying eyeliner. This might be an odd question, but is there any way for you to try and make some new friends, do you think? Or do you have any children or grandchildren that you could try to reach out to? Maybe. I've tried with my children. No, look, they never answer. That's a shame. I have replied, but on the subject of new friends. Yes, absolutely. I would love to make some new friends. That's good, I said. But as I spoke, something felt wrong. I felt a shiver go down my spine, like something inside me. Some inner barrier had just been breached. It's a difficult feeling to describe. I hope you can find a way to feel empowered. I continued to shake off the strange feeling, to make some new friends, and to get what you can out of life. You should never give up on making your life fulfilling. You know, even if the circumstances aren't great. Man, I really pulled out all the platitudes today. Never, ever. I've always been persistent. I've never been one to give up. Hope to have and keep a wonderful life. Not a chance. Not in a million years. She replied with conviction. I tried to concentrate on her words during the conversation, but I kept getting distracted. I noticed the strangest thing in the mirror. My free hand was slowly stroking my hair, in a really strange way. Why am I doing that? I returned my arm to its normal resting position, and went back to dabbing concealer under my eyes. But every time I feel hopeful, I sink back into sadness. It really is the worst thing to lose your family. I'm really sorry I reacted like that. I meant it. It was a brutal accident. We were all in the car. It was my brother driving. He had this brief moment of carelessness. He was distracted by a conversation and had taken his eyes off the road. And at the same time, that another driver in another car had a moment of carelessness. It was a perfect accident, almost like the opposite of serendipity. Two momentary lapses, leading to a terrible cosmic mistake. I caressed my cheek. Wait, why was I stroking my cheek? Yes, my skin is amazing, but I don't usually feel compelled to touch it like that. I brought my free hand back to its resting position. Once again, this is fucked up. I'm really sorry about that. And just so I'm clear, this accident is how you lost your brother. Everybody, my brother was driving. His wife was in the passenger seat next to him. And in the back of the car was me, my husband and my sister. Jesus, that's fucking brutal. Excuse my language. I'm really so sorry. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to survive something like that and have to carry on while losing the people closest to you. You know? No answer from her for a while, just her breathing. It must have been emotional for her to remember all that. I could sense that we were probably a bit too deep, and at that point I was ready to end it. I wasn't even sure if this conversation was going to do her any good. Anyway, and so I began to think of ways to end it. This civic duty I'd undertaken. Savoyed, she said, yeah, I totally get that. How? We probably don't want to get into it too much. But how? I've lost people close to me too. And it definitely feels like it's a hole in you. Where you end up when it all ends is a void. It's not at all what people said it would be. What? Also, my involuntary movements were starting to drive me mad. It almost felt like I had a concussion or something. One minute I was standing up straight. I was putting on lipstick. The next I was bending over the sink, with my face almost pressed against the mirror, staring deep into my own eyes. It was time to end the call. I'm really sorry about this, and I feel terrible about everything you've been through. I really hope you can find some peace and comfort. Unfortunately, I have to go, if that's okay. She continued, my words flying past her, when the crash happened. Even though I felt my skull crack and my spine snap and blood filling my mouth, choking me, while the rest of me remained a mangled mess, I still felt like I was alive, for a lot longer than I should have been. It hurt for a really long time, and fuck it, I'm out. I felt a movement coming from inside me, pushed my hair back, but I didn't. But then I thought if I'd finally crossed over, that I would be connected to everyone again. We would all be together, but it wasn't true. It's just a void. It's darkness, a sea of it, and it's lonely and terrifying. And yet the hopelessness is paired with a strange vitality. I really want to come back to life. I wanted to hang up the phone. Why are my hands clenched so tightly? Calm down, now I can feel you. Stay a little longer. I'm almost there. She said, oh fuck. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to start a new life, make new friends again. Walking down the street and hearing the sound of cars. And casual company. Why do I feel like I'm going to faint? Why do I feel like something's blooming out of me? I am so excited that you called back and kept answering, because I swear to you, this has all happened for a reason, and I'm almost there, and I am almost all the way inside of you. And you are so beautiful and young, and I can already, with real vividness, the friends I will meet, and the new memories I will make, and just the vibrancy of it all and everything, even through the pain. It all means something. I am completely convinced of that. Her speech began to speed up. I could hear it in my head. I tried to unclench my hands and hang up the phone, but I couldn't overcome it. I spoke through, clenched teeth as I felt myself fading away. Get the fuck off my body, I growled in an instant. Something deep in my gut told me that I was only seconds away from losing myself completely. So, with a strange burst of instinct, I smashed my head against the bathroom mirror. I broke it. My hands were still clenched tightly together. It didn't feel like them. The spirit inside me had not weakened in the slightest. So I braced myself for more. What an unkind and selfish thing to do. She shouted at my body, but I cut her off by banging my head against the wall. I did it again and again, but I could still hear her fucking voice, croaking over the phone. I pushed through. This time I made sure I didn't hold back. With one blow, I slammed my head as hard as I could, against the bathroom counter. It hurt like hell. As soon as I recoiled from the impact, I was afraid that I'd done some irreversible damage to my skull or my brain. But it didn't matter. I had a sense of my own vitality. I'd rather be dead than have someone else in my body. I felt her hold on me weaken slightly, when her voice came through the call. You're a vessel, she said. Why can't you be grateful? I could feel myself on the verge of losing consciousness. I wasn't sure. Was it from the head trauma I'd suffered? Or if my mind was about to slip away? But I pushed as hard as I could. One last time, I stood up and brought my head down like a hammer on the counter, where the phone lay, knocking it and myself to the floor, in the midst of the excruciating pain and confusion. For a few seconds, I felt a sense of freedom. I took advantage of the brief lucidity that came with the insane amount of adrenaline in me, and crawled over to the phone. I tapped through the screens and messages, in an almost deranged manner, just as I heard Diane about to say something else. I hung up the phone. Jesus fucking. It's fucking done. I screamed in place, on the bathroom floor for what must have been a minute. I screamed even louder when I heard my Natalie and Bruglia ringing to indicate another incoming call. Caller ID, Diane Vale. I immediately hung up the phone, but it was interrupted by another call, then another, and another. Diane was calling from different numbers at the same time, over and over again, each call interrupting the previous one, before I even had a chance to hang up. I ran to my hall cupboard and found my toolbox, opened it, grabbed a hammer and ran back into the bathroom. Without a second's hesitation, I smashed my Samsung Galaxy S23 to pieces. Even after destroying it, I continued to pound the hammer into my bathroom floor to get all the crap and headaches out of my system, and then I was done. I slowly got up. The mirror was broken, so I could only how bruised and battered my reflection looked as the adrenaline started to wear off. The insane amount of pain I felt all over my body became more and more obvious. As Diane had said, it hurt for a really long time, but I was still here, and it was probably time for me to go to the hospital. No concert tonight, probably for the best. I could explain to the cops later why I was screaming while destroying my own bathroom. It took me a while to feel comfortable with a new phone. I still remember the puking sensation I felt months ago when I saw her name on the caller ID again. I blocked her as I did every other time she called me. Number permutation she used to call me. As the months went by, the skin-crawling sensation. Every time she tried to reach me, it was always the same. But thankfully, as time passed, her calls became fewer and farther between. Perhaps she was beginning to make peace with the void. Or maybe she used this free time to finally learn how to text from the great beyond. I got my first text from her a few weeks ago. You were so incredibly selfish, stringing me along, giving me false hope, and then back out at the last moment. I have a silent, I'm holding deep in my heart, that when you pass on, you'll be in the same emptiness as me. I will have an eternity to inflict on you, which I dream of in every waking moment. Diane, sigh. Not even a chat with you later. She needs to brush up on her texting etiquette. I laughed at the time and thought it was stupid. Lady, when we all end up in a void, and you're already seemingly alone in said emptiness for what feels like an eternity, then it's probably safe to say that it's a big fucking emptiness where you'll never find me. That's the prevailing thought I like to keep. But every now and then I sink into a bit of despair. Specifically, in the morning when I wake up after a nightmare. All my nightmares these days seem to have the same tone. First, it's a normal-ass dream. And then, out of nowhere, I turn a corner. And off in the distance, the dream extends into a black void. And I stand on the edge of the void, where the darkness meets my normal dream environment. Is Diane. She's looking at me with an intense stare and a subtle smile. Smile and she waves. And for that brief moment, it all feels incredibly real and vivid. The thing I hate most about these nightmares is the way my body sometimes collapses. Involuntarily, every now and then, I catch myself waving back. I wonder if we're allowed to take things with us into the afterlife. If so, I'd like to ask my loved ones to bury me with a hammer.